Hi, I'm Chuck Leach. A while back I watched a magician appear and vanish a coin, and I thought, wouldn't it be neat if you could show your hands empty, come down, have a coin appear just like that, and then just as easily make it disappear. And then I thought, wouldn't it be neat if you could do it in a short sleeve shirt? Just like that. And if you could do that, well, you could do Leach. A while back I watched a magician appear and vanish a coin, and I thought, wouldn't it be neat if you could show your hands empty, come down, have a coin appear just like that, and then just as easily make it disappear. And then I thought, wouldn't it be neat if you could do it in a short sleeve shirt? Just like that. And if you could do that, well, you could do this. Series of effects utilizing a raven, which is a specialized pull that we've developed that is utilized in a number of unique ways. Now this video is intended to be a companion for the raven itself, so I'm going to assume that you've already read your instructions that came with your raven. During this video I will cover briefly some of the basic information that's in the instructions that come with the raven. How to attach the loop, how to attach the raven to a shirt or a coat. But we want to spend the majority of our time showing you some additional moves and effects that we've come up with since then. We spent 6 months and a couple dozen prototypes designing the raven. Please refer to illustration number 1 in your raven instructions for the particulars on the components. What you're going to need to do first and foremost is to attach a fish line loop to the magnet ring on this end. With your raven you received a raven accessory packet. Now, in that there is a shimmed nickel shell, a mini nickel, the raven brake, And around the accessory card is 36 inches of 6-pound test fish line. What you need to do is to unravel that fish line and attach it, tie one end of it to your raven. Tie one end of the fish line to the ring at the end of your raven. I'm using a black cord here so you can see what I'm doing. Make sure you tie a good knot. I've never had a raven come undone, but I've had knots come undone. Once you've secured one end of the fish line to the ring, then wrap it around your middle finger and come back to the ring. At this point right here, mark your line and then cut a couple inches past that mark and then tie the line to the ring so that your mark is tied at the ring. Once you've tied the other end of the fish line to your ring, you have a loop. Now you want your raven, when the loop is over your middle finger, you want the raven to be approximately in the center of your hand. Doesn't have to be exact, but you want it to be just about in the center. If you're planning to repeat the effect, if you're doing table hopping or what have you, then you're going to need to utilize the raven break. And what you do is you take the safety pin that's at the other end of your raven and just feed it through the loop and then let the break slide right down to the magnet. First, let me show you how to attach the raven to your shirt. Now, a couple points on the shirt. You want a shirt that is of a pretty solid fabric. You don't want a real flimsy, light fabric like silk. You want something that's a little heavier fabric. You also want a shirt that is dark or has a dark, bright, busy design. I'm using a white shirt here today to just so I can show you where to hook up the raven. Now, for guys, you're going to have to hook the raven into your left shoulder seam. For women, because your shirt's buttoned the opposite way, you're going to hook it into your right side. Now, what you do is you pin the safety pin on the raven into the shoulder seam where the two fabrics meet. Now, this is a heavier area, and so what I do is I pin the safety pin in there and I run it through the fabric several times so that the pin isn't grabbing it in just one area. You also want to make sure that it doesn't go through the back of the shirt. Put your shirt on, and when you do, you want the raven to be hanging down behind your shoulder, so it comes down from behind. And the loop should come right out to the center of your stomach. Now, we call this area the button line because when your buttons on your shirt are buttoned, that's where it will stop. If the loop goes beyond the button line a bit, then what you need to do is take your shirt off and move the pin higher up the seam. If it stops short of the center line, then you move the pin down the seam. And when you hold it here to see how it lines up, you're not stretching the elastic, you're not letting it loop or be too slack. You want it to be relatively firm. Now, if you're planning on repeating the effect, you need, first of all, to be wearing a t-shirt. And again, I'm wearing a light-colored shirt here and a light-colored t-shirt so you can see what we're doing. But you should be wearing a darker t-shirt unless your shirt is really dark and opaque enough that it doesn't matter. And if you're going to repeat the effect, what you do is you have your raven break that is already on the raven. And what you need to do is aim your raven between the two lower buttons right here, and then pin your brake right where the magnet is. So it's right there. I've got it pulled to the center line. I've got it aimed between these two buttons. So all I'm going to do right now is just pin the brake to my t-shirt like this. And what this does is this will stop the raven right here. And that makes it so when I'm doing walk around, all I have to do is slip my fingers in and I can hook the loop and I'm ready to repeat the effect. Tuck your shirt in, but don't tuck it in too tightly. Stretch a little bit after you've tucked it in so that the shirt's just a little bit loose. Now you should be able to reach into your lower buttons and find the loop and retrieve it. Now the reason we're using these lower buttons is that when you've hooked this loop onto your finger and you bring out the elastic, your arm provides cover. Even with the good coverage that your arm will provide, you want to be conscious of somebody that's standing really close and perhaps looking down with a high angle. And what you're going to do is you're going to hook the raven loop onto your middle finger, and you never pull it out too far. The raven itself is only going to come out of your shirt 5 to 8 inches, somewhere in there, because you're going to be doing all these vanishes right in front of you at a very comfortable level. A tip is that when you pull the raven out, you angle your hand out away from you a little bit. That makes it so that the raven avoids hanging up on the lower part of your shirt. It also creates a little bit of a cave door. Now when you go back, you bring your hand in, or at least your finger in, and what happens is the raven will flatten out against your stomach and will slide right back in to that cave door. Couple more tips. Whenever you hook your raven up to a new shirt, practice bringing it in and out of the shirt a lot, because your buttons may be at different levels, and so when you're performing for people and doing a vanish, you need to get used to the different levels that a shirt may be at. A couple other things. Practice having your hands in relaxed, natural-looking positions. You can have it just sitting here like this. You can cross your hands like that. Also, if you've got the right amount of tension on there, when you get out to this point, there'll be quite a bit of pressure on your fingertip. It may even turn it a little bit white. You can avoid anybody noticing that by keeping your hand moving. You can bend the finger in a little bit. Watch your side angles, because if your hand's horizontal to the floor, they may see fish line along here. So keep your hand pretty much vertical to the floor like this. When it comes time to vanishing a coin, what you want to do is take the coin out, and when you're using the shirt method, you want to go down and you want to steal the coin by bringing the magnet a little closer to your hand. It will lift the coin, and at this point right here, see, you've taken the coin on the upward swing, and at this point, the raven is now horizontal, and it's ready to slide right back into your shirt. If you take it on the downward motion, then you've got to do this extra little move to bring it back up like that. Another real important tip for when you're using the raven with the shirt is if you have a problem and the raven hangs up. Let's say you practice 100 times and it works every time, and you go out to do it for somebody, and as it goes back in, your hand was too high, and the raven hangs up here on a button. If you've got the right amount of tension on there, it's actually kind of difficult to hang up because the elastic is going to pull it in. But if it does happen to hang up, there's a couple things you can do. One is when you've done the vanish of a coin, you come up and this hand here is shown empty and this hand here is shown empty, and you've kept this center area concealed. And now if you can feel that the raven is hung up, you can kick it in with this finger, or you've gone in, you've done the vanish, and you go, nothing in this hand, nothing in this hand. You can turn around and say, nothing hanging down behind me, at which time you can kick the raven into your shirt. A couple more tips. The raven's ideal just to have it already set up on your hand, walk up to somebody, and vanish a coin in a very visual, magical way. But if you're doing table hopping or you're in a situation where you want to repeat, there's a couple things you can do. You can have your hands in front of you like this, and then under the cover of this hand can just go inside and clip the loop. In which case, I do this little finger scratch move, and I've hooked the raven back up to my hand. If you have the opportunity to turn around for something, to get something out of a case, that's another thing. If you've got people scrutinizing you, you can go, well, nothing up this sleeve, nothing up this sleeve, nothing hanging down behind me, and the amount of time that you turn around, you can hook it back up to your hand. Couple additional tips. If you happen to have an odd shirt where the space between the buttons isn't very wide, you can custom trim your raven just by cutting a little bit off the sides, but do that at your own risk. We've built these with a certain amount of felt on the sides so that it will stay together really well. It's not that big of a problem to replace the felt. In fact, that's probably the only thing that you may have to do with the raven in the long term is replace that. It's an adhesive felt that is available at a lot of different craft stores. If you make it a little bit narrower, it may go in a little bit better. Another thing is if you're going to be vanishing coins that have a lot more steel in them, like a steel core coin, copper-plated steel penny, or if your felt starts to wear thin, the coins will make some noise. In which case, what you can do is you can go and get either these little felt pads, adhesive-backed felt pads, and you can just go ahead and stick one on each side, and that will eliminate some of the noise. Also, to cut down on any noise that it may make when it takes the coin, you can bring the magnet in a little closer to the coin. That way the coin's not jumping up as high and hitting the magnet as hard, and that will cut down on some of the noise as well. Another tip when you're vanishing a coin is you want to watch bringing your hand down too far and exposing the elastic that's coming out of your shirt. What I tend to do is to put my elbow pretty much against my side, and I try and move just the front part of my hand and arm like this. Now, besides vanishing a coin, there's a whole slew of other things you can do. With your shim shell coin, just by putting your mini coin underneath the shell, you wave your hand over it and the coin will shrink to a mini coin. Now, the effect that we did in the opening sequence, where a nickel changes to a $50, and of course that could be a penny changing to a $50 or what have you, what I do is I have a $50 in a thumb clip position right here, and the nickel right here. I come up and take the nickel and then go down and leave the $50. Now, there obviously can be a whole range of other effects just like that. Anything that you can palm, you could leave in place of whatever it is that you steal. So you could have your magic penny change into a playing card like we did in the opening sequence. If you had a little egg shell, you could shim it so that your plastic egg, you could shim it so that the magnet could steal it, and then you could leave in place of it a little, toy chick or something like that. There's a whole variety of things that you could do as far as changing one coin to another object. You hook up your raven to your coat in almost the same fashion as you do to your shirt. You're going to pin it into the shoulder seam. Best way to do that first is to feed your raven up your coat sleeve and then grab onto the loop. And you want the loop to stop about 2 inches from the bottom of your sleeve. And you're holding the pin on the other end. So that'll show you right where you should pin the pin. If you're right-handed, you can pin it on the right sleeve. I'm pinning on the left sleeve because I'm left-handed. Another option, of course, would be to pin one in both sleeves, and we'd be more than happy to send you a second raven. There are several advantages to using the raven with a coat, and probably the biggest is that you can show your hands empty doing what I have appropriately termed the empty hand move. Now, there's two ways of doing that. One is to come up like this and show your hand empty, and the other is to go like this and show your hand empty. And first, I'll show you the first move, and what you're going to do is you're going to have the loop, and obviously I'm still using the black loop here. It's over your index finger. That's something I haven't mentioned yet, but it certainly is worth mentioning. You can use the loop over your index finger or your middle finger. You may find that for some effects you'll like using it over an index finger instead of over the middle finger. For this first empty hand move, you have the loop over your index finger, and what you're going to do is your thumb is going to go underneath the raven, and the raven's going to slide around to the back side of your hand. In motion, it looks like this. I will angle this hand a little bit away to help conceal the raven on the back. And what you also want to do for misdirection is you start out with the other hand and then just come down and do it sort of as a gesture. Nothing in my hands, and then you can go ahead and appear or vanish a coin. Now, the other way of doing it, I put the loop over my middle finger, and what we're going to do this time is instead of the thumb going underneath the raven to show your hand empty, we're going to bring the pinky and the ring finger up and over like this. Exposed view is coming under like that and coming around like that. And what the raven does is it just rolls right around behind your hand. The other advantage to using the raven with your coat is that you're able to reach further away from you. That gives you the ability to vanish something on a table or something in a spectator's hand. A couple other quick tips for using the raven with your coat. One is I get a Sharpie pen, any kind of permanent black ink pen, and I color the ring, the magnet ring, black. That way when you're doing your empty hand move, If anything flashes, it might be that ring, and when it's shiny silver, that could stand out, especially against a dark shirt. So I color that black. Another thing you can practice is getting the raven on one-handed, and what you have to do for that is to be able to reach up into your sleeve and hook the loop with one finger, and then just kind of push your index finger into it. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's something that if you play with for about 10 or 20 years, you should get pretty proficient at it. Otherwise, it's pretty easy just to cross your hands like this and reach the loop and then bring it out and put it on as you rub a finger. Here's another tip. When you're going to vanish something with the raven, when you take it out here, don't let it go and shoot up your sleeve, because that'll create a lot of disturbance on your sleeve. What you want to do is to bring it across like this and then roll your hand over like that. And by bringing your hand in like this, you've taken a lot of the tension off the elastic, and it'll just go up your sleeve very gently. And it also looks very nice because your hand's right out here, and then you're just rolling it over and showing it empty. The move is basically the same when you're going to vanish something in your hand. Bring it up like this and then just roll your hand over and it's vanished. I should also mention that if you're wearing a long sleeve shirt, you're going to need to roll your sleeve up quite a bit. It's actually recommended that you wear a short sleeve shirt just because you don't want a bunch of shirt material bunched up here that's going to slow down the pull on the elastic. And of course, if your shirt cuff was way down here, it could catch the raven entirely. So it's best to wear a short sleeve shirt when you're using a raven in your coat. When you're going to vanish a coin in a spectator's hand, there's a couple things to be aware of. One is to flatten their hand out, because the spectator will naturally have their hand bent or curled a little bit. So with your fingers, flatten their hand out a little bit. Also control the level. You want it about at the belt level, just so that they don't see the coin fly up to the magnet. Be real conscious of your angles. I have my fingers on each side of my loop finger, so that the person won't see the loop going over my fingertip. It's on the very end, it's underneath my fingernail, so they can't see anything there. And with my fingers side by side, they won't see anything on the sides. Just place it on their hand, come up like this, take it on the downward motion, and then turn your hand over, and the coin's changed. There's a whole variety of different effects that can be accomplished with a few accessories. You received the shim shell nickel, but on the market from your favorite magic dealer, you can get steel core coins, magnetic coins, and expanded shell coins, and all of those can be used with the raven. A lot of the $half effects that you've seen, I've used an expanded shell coin, and what I've done is I've put some very thin shim material in there. And another thing you can do is at craft stores, you can get these little gems. And this particular size right here fits into the nickel shell almost exactly. And so now, instead of vanishing a coin, you can vanish the gem or change the gem into something else if you want to do a switch. Another item that you probably will want to have is some kind of a shim material. Now we produce what we call a paalming shim. You can go to a hardware store and get some washers of different sizes. By putting a little wax on your paalming shim or your washer, you can secretly stick this to a variety of things. The dollar bill effect that we did in the beginning utilized this. You have it finger palm with a little wax on it. You can borrow a dollar bill from someone, and as you fold it up, you stick the paalming shim to it, and now by waving your hand over the dollar bill, you can make it vanish. In the future, we'll be offering a variety of attachments and other accessories for the raven, including a shim shell quarter and a shim shell half, and the shrinking die that you saw earlier on. But here's a couple ideas that you could jump into right away. At craft stores, you can get these little mirrors. You can get a smaller one than this, actually. And you can also get these little square pads that have adhesive material on each side. What I've done here is I've peeled off the adhesive material and stuck it to the back of the mirror, and then you can peel off this side and stick it to your raven. And now what you have in your hand is a shiner, which gives you the ability to glimpse somebody's card or what have you, and then of course let the raven go up your sleeve and your shiner has completely disappeared. Another thing you can do is attach a portable smoke. This is a relatively new item on the market. But what you can do is you can tape it to the back part of your raven just beyond the magnet. And where this will be right on the heel of your hand when you're wearing it. And so now you can still show your hand empty, and this passes over a coin, and by pressing on this, you're going to get a puff of smoke that's going to come out, and then you let the whole thing go up your sleeve, and so you've vanished a coin in a puff. You hook up your raven, and the raven is actually what holds the card in place, so your hand can be out here with your fingers spread. You have your coin right here. This is the shell coin with shim material. Bring your hand over it. The coin is now stuck to the raven. Bring your arms in a little bit to take the tension off the elastic. Curl your fingers in. The loop goes off your finger, and you're now able to just reveal that the coin has changed into a playing card. To perform the shrinking die effect, these are available through your favorite magic dealer, but you can also make it yourself. Drill a sizable hole in the die. It goes about 90% down the die. Glue a very small but as strong as possible magnet in there, and then get a miniature die and set the large die over the mini die. Now all you have to do is just wave your hand in front and it visibly becomes a small die. Besides vanishes, appearances, and changes, you can also do penetrations, where the coin can't get through a mat or what have you. On the opening effect, where the dime and penny change places, what you're going to utilize is going to be a penny shell, a real honest-to-goodness dime, and secretly palmed in your hand will be a real penny. What you're going to do is show the dime and penny, and as you slide them into your hand, you're going to slide them together so the dime goes inside the penny shell. Ask the spectator to name one of the coins. If they name the dime, say, fine, I get the penny, I guess. Take out the penny shell with the dime underneath it, put it on the back of your hand, wave your hand over it, visibly changes to the dime, the raven goes up your sleeve, and you show the pennies now in your hand. And it's a very quick transposition of two coins. Another thing you can do, instead of waving your hand over the coin and making it vanish, come out here and pretend to pick it up, and then squeeze it into just a little tiny coin like that. And so you've not done a visual change, but you've done what I call a pickup move. You come out and, let me get my raven back so you can see exactly what I mean. The raven is over your hand just like this. In this particular case, I had a mini coin pressed between my fingers. And so now you can come out here, the raven takes the $50, it goes up the sleeve, the fingers take the mini coin, you do this little squeezing thing, you can even hold it like this if you want, let a little coin show through your fingers, squeeze the coin down and produce it into, or change it into a mini coin. That's called a pickup move. You could also do that off the table. To vanish a cigarette, what you need to do is to shim it, obviously. We just have a piece of metal in the front part of this cigarette. You can use one of those joke puff cigs. You could actually shim a real cigarette. This is a cigarette that's made from the heat shrinkable tubing that John Cornelius uses. And what you do is you can have this in your mouth like this. You're going to do an empty hand move where I come up. The raven's actually back here behind my hand now. Come up, take the cigarette out, put it in this hand here, and then just do a pass. Now the shim portion of the cigarette is right here, and this is what I'm going to grab with the magnet. So as I come down like this, it's going to jump up and stick to the magnet, and then it goes right up the sleeve and your hand's empty. If you would like to appear and vanish a coin, like we did in one of the opening effects, then what you need to do is take your shell coin, in this case it's my expanded half that has the shim stock in it, and I stick it to the magnet. The face of the coin is actually against the magnet, and the shim stock side is exposed. Now what you can do is you can come out, show your hands empty, come down here like this, do a pass, rubbing the coin off. Now I do the opposite empty hand move, then I come up and I steal the coin just like that. So it's a very visible and clean appearance and vanish of a coin. Well, that wraps up your introduction to the raven. I hope you learned something from this tape. Go out there, practice it, because you can do some really visual magic effects. I think the most exciting thing about the raven is the variety of effects that you can accomplish, from all these vanishes and appearances to all these different kinds of changes. There's really no end to the kinds of effects that you can do. The fact that you can do it in a coat or a shirt only adds to that. So go out there, play with it, and have fun, and fool some people.